And good evening, everyone. ESS, Empire State Sports, proudly presents the Wise Guy Sports Talk Show. Your host tonight, Joey Reel, myself, Pete Goslaw. Our very special guest, North Country Community College's women's basketball coach, Roger Long. Roger, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Roger, I know we're going to talk about a few things, and I'm going to lose my voice, so I'll start it off tonight, and then I'll let Joey kick it around. We're still waiting for our other partner, Dave Bartlett, to show up. He's running a little late. Coach, this is nothing new for you. People look at your name and they'll say, well, who is he? You're known around, the Champlain Valley area, but not around North Country Community College. You got a few years under your belt at Osable Valley High School. We're going to let you tell us a little bit about yourself and your bio, going way back, not to birth, but close enough. Give us a little bio about yourself and coming forward, Coach.
Okay, so I'm really going to talk about basically my bio of coaching in college and high school. Skip the playing time career. So I was lucky enough to applied for a job at Osable Valley in 1997 for a modified A boys job. And it was funny because the athletic director at the time was named Dick Brogowski. And he called me up and said, Roger, the job's been taken by a teacher. His name was Terry Green, but we have a modified girls job opening. Would you be interested? And of course, I was 22 years old, and at the time, my sister was a 8th grader in high school. I said, I know 8th grade girls, it'll be fine. I can handle it. A little bit overzealous, overconfident on that one. It was a eye opener, but I started in 1997 and I coached for 3 years of modified. And after 3 years of modified, I was afforded the opportunity for the JV position. While that was going on, I started coaching basketball camps in the area, like you said, Champlain Valley. And I started coaching in a travel AAU program, the Lake Champlain Lakers, in 2000. After 3 years of JV, the varsity coach who'd been there for 9 years decided it was time for him to retire. And Karen Lopez was the athletic director at the time, and she said she thought it was a good fit. So year 2003 to 2004, I took over a program that won 16 games in 3 years prior. And from 2003 to 2020, we won 235 games, 8 division titles. I had 6,000 point scores, a couple MVPs, trip to the Final Four. I was afforded some very, very good players over that time frame, as well as from 2000 to 2013, coaching with the Lake Champlain Lakers, 15U and then 16U, and then 7 years of a AU program. We started Northern Border Rampage. I had the 16U. I believe I had 4 Division I players out of the great, Champlain Valley, and more of Section 10 kids. And I think I was afforded over 30,000 point scores in that time frame. Had a lot of success and a lot of fun. Fast forward to COVID, sat out for a year, spent 2021 to 2022 as a volunteer assistant at Plattsburgh State for Coach Mike Blaine, and assisted with John Conowitz, who unfortunately passed this past year, and Adam Jaquish, who played at Mariah and then played at Plattsburgh State. Had a lot of fun on the men's side, but in April, I got a text out of the middle of nowhere from Mr. Chad Ledoux at North Country Community College, and asked me if I would be interested in coaching at North Country Community College, men's or women's. More than likely, he thought it would be the women's program, but just put a feeler out there. I spent about 20 seconds deciding that, and then talking with my wife, and then immediately texted him back and said, Chad, I'm in. Whatever you need, I'm ready to do. Coach Dumont at the time was on vacation, excuse me, in Florida. And he said he needed some time to think about it. He got back from Florida after a week and said, Chad, I'm ready for a new challenge. I'll take the boys' job. And so Coach Dumont rolled over to the boys' side, and Chad said, congratulations to the women's coach. Get me a resume in. Let's take the next steps to get this thing going. So it was a little bit of a whirlwind, but a very exciting process because I've been doing this, like I said, 23 years. It's really my passion. And I'm walking into a program with 11 out of 12 returners, out of 12 players are returners. And Coach Dumont did a very good job of recruiting. So I've got 6 or 7 kids coming in. So we've got a full roster of basketball players. And it gets me really, really excited just to think about it.
So, Coach, you just spent a couple of minutes doing a whole bio, and the only thing I heard was it took you 20 seconds to figure out that you wanted the job. It would have took me a lot less time than that, to be honest with you. Everybody you've mentioned that you contacted, Dumont, Coach Ledoux, the late John Conoway,
Yeah.
they've all been on our show. Great, man. We just had literally after the announcement of Jared taking the men's program, we had him on within, I think, 3 days.
Okay.
And we're picking his brain quick. You got big shoes to fill with Jared, but one of the questions I was going to ask, and of course he told us during the interview, was he left you pretty good coming in. So hopefully you could start recruiting your own ladies, moving forward.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So he had 11 girls returning. I've kind of learned that amazingly, we spend a lot more time recruiting kids from out of the area, so to speak. They have Coach Dumont gave me 3 recruiting sites, and now that he's established as a national JUCO program, student athletes from all over the country are looking at the school differently than they would say per se if you came in and we didn't have a established program or a great winning record. So it's really easy to transition into that recruiting this year because of what they did last year. We were lucky enough to get 2 student athletes from Texas, a girl from Arizona, another student athlete from Watertown, excuse me. And I just met with a player from Reading, Pennsylvania this past weekend when we were down there on an AAU trip with my daughter. So those are all of Coach Dumont's recruits. I am going online and following through, looking at kids right now for 2023 and 2024. And I'm hoping that this year goes as well as the past few years that they've had, and record speaks for itself. Program speaks for itself, and kids want to come in and continue that progress of keeping us at an elite level. That's going to be the big shoes I've got to fill, because it's really what it comes down to is the players make you look good. You can make players look real bad if you don't get the right ones pretty quickly.
How's travel going to be for you, Coach? With because you don't live in Saranac Lake, right?
That's correct. So I live in Port Kent, New York, right on a golf course, and my hardware store, my main career is in Keysville, and being afforded a self-employment, I've set this up with staff to basically be able to cover me when we have practices and stuff, but it's going to be 45 miles one way every day. which isn't ideal, but at the end of the day, how many people in this world make hour trips to work all the time and they make it work? And I can't pass this opportunity up. And even if it was 75, 80 miles away, I think I'd still take it.
Joey heard golf course. That's all I heard. Yeah.
Yeah,
So is that Harmony Golf Course?
it is Harmony Golf Course. I live on hole number 13.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm familiar with that course because of the legend Nate Bilo.
Oh, yeah.
He used to, he used to do his golf tournament for his basketball program at Harmony, and that until COVID hit, and then he hasn't done it since. But I used to love going out there, play that little. Is it still 14 holes?
It is still 14 holes, and if you remember it, on the back end, 12 went down a hill.
Yep.
13 came back up, and there was a road over there on the right-hand side. And my house is the white house that sat up. I was the only one by myself up there with my 4 kids and my wife, and it was very secluded, quiet, very relaxing.
We want to get back to basketball, but you got the juice to slow because I truly fell in love every time I went out to play there. It was always a nice day. It was always in the middle of August, and I always said, boy, if they could get the course like really nice, get their greens really nice, that place is that's a hidden gem sitting right there. It's gorgeous.
It's beautiful. Port Kent is a very quiet and quaint community, and they're pretty tight knit. We're considered outsiders because we're not 3rd or 4th generation people from Port Kent, but they definitely have a hidden gem. I know the owners at this point are getting towards the end, and they want to sell it, and they do have property to extend it to 18 holes, which would be outstanding. I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm going to worry about recruiting players right now, but it would be a plus for me, no doubt.
Well, I mean, that's what a retirement place you've already got. You've already got your retirement place. I mean, I love that little clubhouse that they have. I can see myself going up there just to have a couple drinks and watch the view over the lake.
I do have a golf cart, and I can drive it on the golf course from my house to the restaurant and relax.
Good for you, man.
Yep.
That truly is a hidden gem. It's nice to know it. I didn't. You're the first person I've met, because whenever we were on that course, I'd say, boy, it's a nice house right here. It's a nice house right here. It's a beautiful little community building up right around the golf course. So
yep. Good
for you. Well, if I knew I had to drive 45 miles from that location to work, I'd be fine with that 45 miles.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about, okay, so your team is pretty much set for this year, and you're working on the next season, but what about your schedule for this year? Are you having an input on that, or is Jared helping you out with like non-league games and things that he described how difficult it is on the women's side in your conference, in your division, in your area, because some of your fellow colleges, community colleges, don't have a women's program.
Yeah. So that's a great question. So right now, the updated schedule, I think, and I don't have it right in front of me, but I think it was at 22 games. Okay. And Clinton Community College, unfortunately, is what I was told, is not have a coach. So they're not going to have a program this year. Schenectady College also has reached out and said they're not having a program. So Chad Ledoux has done it. He's great to work with. I mean, I couldn't ask for a more even keel. I'll help you out any way I can. He's given me all the tools to be successful. And he's picked up a couple games for us with Paul Smiths, and he's working on a couple more. Ideally, he told me this in the beginning, that he pushes for 22 to 24 games. Okay. We had talked about this is kind of like a trial year for myself, and we need to figure out down the road if we can continue to stay at a very elite level in Region 3 and in the nation that we could look at doing some further trips. Okay. There's a community college in Massachusetts that's won 3 national titles. And Coach Dumont had always wanted to go out there. He said we could take a look at that. But right now, we didn't want to put the cart before the horse. We wanted to make sure we had a solid schedule, 22 to 24 games this year. Hopefully win Region 3 with playoffs or get in that large bid and head back to the national tournament. I mean, that's going to be the main goal. And it should be realistic. I know that we lost our best player, but we got enough returners, and we've got some very athletic kids coming in with some size that we are going to really push for that to be our goal. Hey, look, Region 3 is the number one thing we want to do. We win Region 3, then we look at the national tournament. If we don't win Region 3, we need to be in the mix for an at-large bid. So that's where we're at schedule-wise. Coach Dumont has done a very good job of helping me transition over. The best part about him is, just like Chad Ledoux, is his door's always open. He's got the experience. He's there full-time. He's already offered up help in any way he can on trips with taking care of paperwork, hotels, all that stuff to make my life easier, which is great because then it just lets me be a basketball coach instead of also an administrator.
I'm sure that helps, because any coach that takes over any program, that the scheduling is always it's a learning process. And for you to get in this late, I mean, usually scheduling is taking place as soon as the previous season is over. So yeah, I'm sure you're going to learn your way. But I was curious about it because that was one of the things that Jared had brought up to Pete, Dave, and I in his show, was how it's going to be easier for him to schedule on the men's side because he doesn't have to fill as many open spots because they all have men's teams.
Yes.
So, what about the whole, that was one of the things we've talked about. We've talked with so many college basketball coaches, and the connection that the women's and the men's programs have at all schools, at all levels, because they usually travel, play together back to back. So are you looking forward to that, knowing that Jared's he's going to be close by? Obviously you're going to see him all the time in and out of the gym, but it must be comforting to you to know, hey, I got an odd question about this trip coming up. I mean, he's going to be there with you more than likely.
Yeah, he's definitely a security blanket. What I will say, not so much coaching high school, because in high school, if you don't have the players that can play at the next level, it's hard to get connection with the college coaches. But with AAU, having the 2 McCormicks from Hewelton, having the DeSalvo girl from Canton, I had Shannon Ryan, who was a 2-time All-American at St. Anselm's, Brooke Pajelko, who ended up going to Bryant, and she was a first team in Bryant's Conference D1. I was able, because of those players and then Division III players, get a lot of connections with college coaches. And so I had a good rapport with the college coaches on the female end. All right. Last year, helping out on the men's side was a whole new dynamic because I didn't know any of the men's coaches. The rules are a little bit different, obviously. Men handle things differently when you talk to them versus women. And so my major concern going into North Country was, yes, I had experience with the men, but I was really going to be much more comfortable coaching women's basketball. To come in there and to have Coach Dumont be there for 13 years, know the ropes, working there full time, where I'm there for basketball pretty much only. So I'm a 2 or 3, 4 hour employee a day, 6 days a week for 4.5 months, leaning on him for uniforms. I mean, there's a prime example. I had to order uniforms this year. I'm not used to doing that by myself. It usually went to an athletic director. Talking to the kids about classes, hey, you need to get this class in this summer. Talk about scheduling practices. He's like, I can go at 6 a.m. if I'm not a happy camper with my kids. Well, I don't want to go at 6 a.m. coming from Harmony Golf Course to Saranac Lake, especially in the middle of January. But knowing that he's supporting me on any time frame for the gym because he is, this facility supervisor. Again, traveling, he said, I can help take care of the paperwork when you're going to need to fill out for hotels and for food, lodging, getting the kids ready for shoot arounds, all those things. Being an assistant, I was already given a itinerary. Now I'm the head coach and I've got to work that stuff in between. Okay, this is breakfast time. This is when we get on the bus for shoot around. Game's going to be going on. He's already said, hey, I'm going to be right there in the gym. If you need any help, he knows those 11 players that are coming back. They have a rapport, a good relationship with him. Obviously they were a little disappointed he went to the men's side, but it's almost like having, like I said, security blanket, something there that is going to make the transition smooth. And after this year, obviously things work out good. He'll still be around. We can still talk basketball on trips, but then I can kind of integrate my stuff with my own new kids and have a little bit of experience with, like you said, the travel, the back-to-backs. I've never played Herkimer before. I don't know what they run. I don't know, what their personnel is. He's going to have all that info that's going to make the coaching end easier.
Did he mention also, Coach, about taking care of guest broadcasters when they come and do your games, like steak dinners and cold beverages? Because we go up there and broadcast games. So I just want to.
He mentioned a small, tiny detail that there wasn't a budget for it, but he assumed that I was going to help out with that maybe one time during the season.
Okay, I just want to make
Depends
sure.
on what kind of steak you like.
It's usually a big budget for us. I mean, so we
Yeah.
usually have pizza. So
Okay, well, I can afford 1 or 2 meals. I don't know if I can do 22.
I'm just joking with you, Coach. It is.
No, I know.
It is interesting though, and also, like you said, a security blanket. Knowing that Jared is right there for you, and of course you're going to have to make your own bones eventually, but to have somebody that's already set you up and now moving forward is going to be a huge lift off your shoulders going in. You don't want to go in green where you're going into a new program and you're the guy now and you're going, where the hell do I go? So it is going to be comforting, that's for sure. And we speak highly of Jared. The program he's built up there is unbelievable. So, and we've been watching him for national runs. So hopefully you can take the team and run with it also.
Yeah, that's going to be the goal. I don't want to let anybody down. What I will say is that, we talked about the 20 seconds, it took me 20 seconds to think about it. Jared Dumas and Chad Ledoux, and even the people that I've talked to in admissions and everybody else in North Country, because it's such a small school and they all know each other personally. And it's not just I got to work today with somebody from 8 to 5, and they care about the school. They care about the kids. They care about the perception of the school and what they're doing. And they really have opened all the doors for me. And it's made it very easy for me to walk in there and feel comfortable and confident and know that if I do my job right, this is going to be a great opportunity for the kids and myself, but also the working atmosphere is going to be so relaxed. It's going to be really hard for me to be stressing out about that stuff and not worry about doing my job.
Probably something too, thinking about it, a 2-year school compared to a 4-year school, you've really only got to deal with, and this is not dealing, it makes it sound like this is a problem,
no, you're good.
But you won't really only got to deal with Jared's girls for 1 season, as compared to 3 more seasons, right?
Sure. I can compare that to my first year coaching varsity at Sable Valley. I won't forget this. The varsity coach said, listen, until your players come up that were with you in JV and my players are gone, you're always going to have a little bit of a tug and war, because nobody's going to do things the same way. We might all think the same. We might coach similar, but we're going to do things a little bit different. And people struggle with change sometimes. So ideally, the most nerve-wracking part of this job was meeting with the girls on campus when I took the job after Coach Dumont had said, hey, I'm going to the men's side, and having to look at young females feeling a little dejected, not knowing me. I had to go in there and basically I gave them the floor and I said, hey, look, you know what? I can come in here and tell you everything you want to hear. I can tell you who I am, but I need to know who you are and what you want. So I gave them the floor and I said that, you know, this is who I am. Ask me the questions and let's go forward. And, you know, at first we were concerned overall in the program. There was like 5 kids that they thought might waiver or might transfer or might decide not to play. And the positive outcome was they're all coming back and they're all excited, because you look at it 2 ways. If I didn't feel like I was getting a great start with Coach Dumont, or he had put me in a spot, whether that's right or not, people's perception, right? Put me in a spot. Now I've got a fresh start with a new coach. Maybe I'm in a different spot. And then the girls on the other end of the spectrum might have said, well, Coach Dumont was giving me the time. He really trusted me. I got to make sure that those kids understand that I'm giving everybody confidence. They're all going to get an opportunity. We're not going backwards with anyone. And you got 11 bodies coming back and returning, and 6 coming in that are new. And we're going to fight every day for every second that we're on the floor. And then we're going to figure out who's going to get the chunk of the minutes, who's going to be the reserves, who's going to have to work themselves into a reserve, you know? So that was my most difficult thing, selling to the kids that were coming back. Hey, it's a new guy. What's going to happen? The unfortunate side of being a 2-year school versus a 4, you know, that's a positive side. Hey, I can start over. I can do my thing. The unfortunate side is it's almost like you got to recruit a whole new team every year, because they're only there for 2. And what I learned men's and women's this year in college was the biggest adjustment for high school kids coming in is the 3-point line. They're used to 19.9 and it's gone to 22.6. And you want to talk about shooting percentages dropping drastically. So with a JUCO kid, they got 1 year, they come in, their shooting percentage might not be good. The next year they're used to it and then they're gone. You know, then I'm starting all over. So that's the downside of having them for only 2 years.
Yeah, never thought about it that way. And so the other thing, Roger, and this is going to be new to you as well. And I always wondered this. I wanted to ask this with Jared, but you know, when I think of North Country, I think of any of our small colleges around the North Country. Is the walk-on at that level? You know, do you show up first day of practice and there's a few kids in there that you have no idea about? I mean, they're, you know, or you're just finding out. I'm just curious how that works.
Sure.
You know, you don't hear about the walk-on anymore. Or just, hey, when's basketball practice? I might get this a shot. You know, does that happen at this level?
Okay, so I can only go off my experience at Plattsburgh last year, right? So yes. North Country, the SUNY schools didn't have a season 2020 to 2021, right? So they're all stepping back and they're looking for as many kids as they can come in. Okay. The majority of the kids, now the older players, they got their extra year back. So why we have so many returners was some of these kids are actually going into their 3rd year there, but they got their year back because of COVID. So at Plattsburgh, he let walk-ons come in and we had 36 kids in that gym. And it was crazy, like crazy. We had 4 coaches. You know, Coach Conowitz had a ton of experience. Coach Blaine's got a lot of experience. Coach Jay just got done playing there, Coach Jakewish. I had girls' high school experience, okay, not men's college. And so you're looking at these kids and, you know, I've seen enough college practices to know that there's a lot less station work in college. There's a lot more focus on your defense and your offense and your personnel you're playing against. So my concern with 36 kids walking in was, can we get them enough time on the floor to show what they can do? Okay. Going back to the walk-on scenario, I've got 17 kids coming in right now that I know of. If nobody gets hurt, if nobody ends up not coming to school, if everybody decide and they come to the school and they decide they're going to play. I got 17 girls. The thing that I think that's going to be difficult is with those 17 kids, if I got 3 or 4 walk-ons that come on, which I'm not going to disallow, being on a college athletic team. Okay. Believe it or not, the stats were out there overall. If we go through every single sport in college, less than 1.5% of high school athletes play a college sport. So if somebody wants to come out and they're quote unquote, not a great player, but they're a great teammate, they show up every day, they got good grades, those kids can be afforded that opportunity. That's a tough thing to figure out in a week, right? If they come in and they're really good, you're going to know right away. But generally speaking, unless somebody falls through the cracks, they're not coming to North Country, so to speak, to be a walk-on in basketball, but right. I can see a local kid wanting to play. And, like I said, if the grades are there, the camaraderie is there, they work hard every day. I don't want to rob a kid of that opportunity. Does that mean I'm going to put them in games? No, just not how it is, but the opportunity to be part of something is important. So to answer your question, the walk-ons, I don't know if there's a lot of them out there still.
Yeah, well, and yeah, you're right. I think it has changed. But you did bring up something that I think we've talked about in a lot of our shows. I just don't think kids realize nowadays that opportunity is still there for the kid you just described. We want that kind of kid on any level of team. You want that sort of person on a professional team. If that person's going to be there working hard every day and beating up Steph Curry at practice, I want that guy there. So
you want that person in your field if they're an employee, because they bring the morale up. Everybody's not going to, unfortunately, everybody's not the CEO. So everybody has an opportunity to advance the group, okay, or to regress the group. And obviously it's a great learning curve for student athletes to learn that, hey, look, there's always pecking orders, but there's also an opportunity to be part of something special, and you don't have to be the one making it special. You can be part of it.
Totally the way I describe it as athletic director here, as a 25-year varsity basketball coach. Yeah. That's always what I tell, and it's not just basketball. I say it for every sport. Don't think that, just because you were an average player at the high school level doesn't mean that you couldn't be on a team or help out a team at the college level. If you can get your work done and you have this workability that, that coaches love, there's still avenues for you to play or be on a team, and then have the experiences of a lifetime to be around new kids from different areas, be around coaches like yourself that are probably going to be there for that person for the rest of their life, not just for the time that they're with you. So I try to express that to kids. I'm sure you did that same thing as a high school coach. To try to tell your girls, hey, don't sell yourself short. Give yourself a shot. I wish more kids would understand that and realize that. Now, hey, if your first job is to go to school for grades, and that's obviously that's number one.
Sure.
But if you've got the time and the ability, don't sell yourself short. Go ask. Just go knock on the door and ask.
Yeah.
At any level.
Make them tell you no. Don't tell yourself no.
Absolutely.
Make them tell you no.
I couldn't agree more with you. Well, Dave, since you're a little late on, anything to add?
Outside of steak?
Well, swag too, you could add swag. to
Lots of
it.
swag, yeah.
Yes.
Well, I was thinking we could just meet for this steak at Harmony. That I'd be fine with that.
There you go.
That works out because I can still get home in my golf cart.
And you know what's awesome about Harmony? It's still only 14 holes. 14 holes for right now for our age. That's just
perfect.
about right to me. That's just
Yes.
about right.
Yep.
It's funny you say that because the Thundera Golf Club here, the 12th hole comes back to right to the clubhouse,
Yep.
and you wouldn't believe the number of golfers that play 12 holes.
Yeah. And my wife doesn't know that Harmony's only 14 holes. I just bought myself an extra hour in the bar.
There
Well,
you go.
that's good for you, but my wife does know it's only 14 holes.
Well, Coach, I know that we're pretty excited about this year at North Country with Jared taking over the men, you taking over the women. It's going to be fun to watch from afar. We're going to do our best to follow as much as we can. We're usually up there for at least a game, if not a couple. So we're looking forward to it. Before we get off though, we were talking a little bit about off air. Why don't you talk a little bit about your AAU trips that you're making right now with your daughter, but it also is coming in handy for you now being a coach.
Sure. So, timing obviously is everything in life. And my daughter's been playing varsity basketball since 8th grade. She's going to be a senior next year. And she used to play for us when I was running a program out of the Plattsburgh area. And COVID happened in 2020. She didn't play that year. Nobody did up here. And then 2021 hit, and she played with some North Country Fury tournaments. And she played with the Mariah, down here. And this year, one of my former players, Megan Bowman, who is the head women's coach at Coble College, played AAU for me. Reached out to my daughter and wanted to see if she wanted to play for Havoc, which is a program out of the greater Albany area. They're one of 94 programs in the country sponsored by Under Armour. They got sneakers and bags, and every tournament we go to, it's sponsored by Under Armour. You're not allowed to wear any insignia as a player that has Nike or Reebok or Adidas. It just is what it is. So we travel to Albany area once a week for practice. Back in February, we were going on weekends and March as well. And we did some local tournament. They call them local, but they're still a haul for us. We went to Utica in April. We went to Albany in March. And then we hit the main circuit. So we've been to Lancaster, Pennsylvania in April for a facility called Spooky Nook, which is a 700,000 square foot facility with a hotel, restaurant, 3-story climbing facilities, an arcade that would scare you, 34 indoor courts, American Ninja course. They have batting cages. They have football, the smaller soccer ball courts. So we did a tournament there in April. There was 600 plus teams. I got a chance to watch games, but I was with my wife and my other 3 children. So it was literally, as soon as our game was done, she wants to get on the road. The kids got a little antsy. We went to Atlantic City for a tournament, again, sponsored by them, May 20th through the 22nd. And that had close to 800 teams. I got a chance to watch the 4th best player in the country in the sophomore class and the 17th and 18th best player in the freshman class play against each other. I don't know how many colleges were there, but obviously anybody from UCLA on the West Coast to Connecticut on the East Coast in Division I's there. And then this past weekend, I did buy the coaching packet, which was $150 for all the connections with all the kids. For Division III, for a Division I coach, it was $600, which makes me giggle because they're paying $450 more for a for the level of play to get the same information. We were back in Spooky Nook again this past weekend. That was not open D1 recruiting, but there were still 400 plus teams there. So I got that tournament. I had the opportunity to get the coaching packet for free and get into the gym for free, which doesn't sound like a great deal, but when it's $150 for a coaching packet and another $50 to get in, it's a pretty good deal. So we are headed out to Louisville, Kentucky on July 4th, and we play there from July 6th through the 8th. And then we leave there immediately and go to Hamilton, Ohio, which is a brand new facility, which is, I believe, close to 800,000 square feet. And we play there from July 10th to the 12th. And be able to watch a lot of college games, a lot of players, obviously 2023s, 2024s. And then we come home for 7 days. And then I'm back at Spooky Nook from July 20th through the 25th. I'm going to get a round of golf in that week with some of the coaches from Cora's program, because we do have an off day. So July is going to be a little hectic. But at the same time, I'm developing some contacts with AAU coaches. I've been able to get some contacts with college coaches. And I'm sure you guys know this, but networking is a huge deal in college with college coaches and players. And if I don't offer the right major, but the kid's a great kid and a great athlete, and my buddy 2 states over does offer that, well, they push the kids towards those schools. So it's great to get those connections out there.
Louisville, Kentucky, and
go ahead,
Hamilton,
Dave.
Ohio are two of my former homes.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a lot of driving.
Yeah. Well, I lived in Louisville for 15 years, and I lived in Hamilton and worked in Hamilton for 2 years.
Okay. So you know how far it is. So this is it's going to be dreadful.
Yeah.
Because we're driving, we're not flying.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, by the time you rent a car and everything else, it's probably going to be more money, to be honest with you. So, and more of a headache.
What about just quickly, Roger, before we let you go, all this AAU talk. So you're at big time events. Noticing any issues, or are there any issues with lack of officials, or how are the fans and the parents at these events that you go to?
Okay, that's great. That's a great question. So basically what I'm telling you is these people are spending big bucks to get their kids to these tournaments, because we're playing teams, from Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, Texas, wherever the case may be, Indiana. They're spending a lot of money in travel. They get to a gym. The parents are under a lot of stress. The kids are under a lot of stress because they know that performance matters. Okay. And I'm going to say this in a realistic version. The kids that are 5 stars, that they play good no matter what. Like, even when they're playing bad, college coaches aren't going, oh, he only scored 20 points today. Oh, your team lost. They don't care about those things. But the parents are looking at it like, well, you missed 3 shots, or, oh, you didn't get the ball passed to you, or the referee didn't call foul. The referees, right, and doing AAU for so long, they're on a time schedule, and games that are not close, they're going to let a lot go. Games that get physical, as long as it's consistent, they let a lot go. I mean, this is just 20 plus years of AAU. I don't look at those things like I'm looking at from players' perspective, looking at players. Are they fundamentally sound? Do they, and this is a big thing, do they make a mistake? Do they get back on defense? Okay. Do they pick their teammates up when they fall? There are so many good basketball players out there, men's and women's, that the extra baggage can't be there because it's just not conducive to a team environment. And so I think a lot of the times, like you're bringing up with the referees or you're bringing up with the players, everybody puts so much pressure on it instead of, basketball is a game. It's an enjoyable game. It's supposed to be competitive. It's supposed to be fun, but sometimes these events turn it into an atmosphere where it's very stressful. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, if you're a parent, you just want your kids to have a good experience when they're doing things, and you want them to learn good life lessons. And I don't know if that's always getting shown in these events, you know, and that's not a negative. It's just the way it is, you know, and the same thing with the officials. I've seen some really good ones. I've seen some really bad ones. You know, we played in a game this weekend and we lost 39 or 38-29. The other team made 20 free throws out of the 38 points. We had 2 points from the line, and I think the fouls in the second half, and I only know this because they were up on the board, not like I was paying attention. Fouls in the second half were like 17-5. And we lost, but we played well. It was a competitive game. We moved on, you know. Not everybody looks at things like that. You know, so what are you going to do? You can't change it. You know, this is the situation we're in. Let's try to make the best of it.
Well, I think that's what, you know, I think that's what a lot of, now you as the college coach, not there as the dad.
Correct.
You as the college coach, you're looking for that, right? You're not looking, how is the kid handling a little bit of stress? Because I never coached at that AAU level, but the 5-6 years I did it around here, we played every weekend, and I'm looking at my kids for the upcoming season. I'm not looking at, I'd like to win this game, but
Sure.
how are you handling this? I'm sorry to my officials that are watching this, but there are some bad officials, and how are you going to handle this bad official this game?
Yep.
Are we just going to sit here and ride him the whole game? Or are we going to deal with it and move on? And I can't imagine at the level of AAU that you're going to and that you're watching, you're right, how stressful it is, because there's so much on the line for these parents that are spending unbelievable amounts of money, and these kids trying to get to a different level of basketball than we're used to up here at
Right.
Section 10.
Yeah. And so, I mean, ideally, you know, coaching all these years, the first 10 years, I was upset about every call. Okay. And then I watch film and I go, I was right about 30% of them. You know what I mean? So I'm arguing, let's say I argue 10 calls. I was only right 3 times. So they were doing their job the other 7 times. It got to the point where now, you know, what I've found is that if you focus on the things you can control in the game, and yes, I agree with you 100%. There are a ton of bad officials, but there's a lot of bad coaches. So if you walk in and you're prepared and you're a good coach, I don't care how bad the refs are, you should win, right? So I try to focus on what I can control, and I pick my battles. And, you know, the other thing is, as a coach, you see this all the time. Everybody's so animated on the sidelines, from Rick Pitino, Gino Auriemma, down to, you know, the modified coaches in high school. And they love it when you talk to them during dead balls where people can't read your lips and you don't call them by their first name and you ask them what they saw. And if they tell you something you don't agree with, you say, okay, I just didn't see it that way. You get a lot more calls later in the game. Everybody's personality is different, you know? And yes, we're humans. So if you and I are in a game and you've had experience with me and you don't like me, you're probably not getting calls. It's just the way it is, you know? So I look at things of how do you reverse that role and gain the trust down the road, where you might get, even when they're bad, you're going to get their bad calls in your favor. And so the players, when they see you stay calm, it generally keeps them calm to an extent. You know, we don't, they're not in our household every day. Their parents are going to have some kind of lasting effect on them. But if you get them to focus on the things they can control and they don't argue calls, you know, I don't know if you remember watching the NBA finals or when Dwayne Wade was playing, Miami was playing one year, he was still at the free throw line arguing a call and the other team had already scored. He was still arguing with the ref. Like, you know, you got to let it go. You just gave up 2 points. So I'm trying to spin this in a positive light, because I trust me, I agree with you 100%, but I'm going to work as hard as I can for those kids, and I'm going to do the things I can for them during games, but I'm going to try to keep them in a good mindset.
Well, I agree with you, Roger. I'm that's the way I feel. I have always said the kids are going to take the lead of their coach. Now, you probably don't have to worry about this as much now at the college level, but as a high school coach, you did it for a long enough time. The fans take the lead of their coach. If the fans see their coach acting like a maniac for 32 minutes, they're going to act like maniacs for 32 minutes. So
yes,
what you just said exactly sums up how I feel. You got to pick your battles. You got to realize, okay, what can I control? Who am I dealing with tonight?
sure.
Who are the refs tonight? And you just go from there, and you try to get the kids to understand, hey, if we're prepared, I don't know how many games can you officially say, and all the games that you've coached, it came down to an official causing you to lose that game. 1, 2.
I was just going to say, I got one, and then
right.
you can't change it.
Right.
One game, and I coached 350 high school games.
I can only think of 1 or 2 for me, and it came down to like the last play of the game. But then I would look back and go, you know what? It should have never came down to the last play of the game.
Sure.
That's usually how it goes down. So, yeah, I love your thought process on that, and I'd be curious to when we get to see you at the start of this season coming up. Be curious to see how this whole summer for AAU finished out for you with this Louisville trip and
Absolutely.
trip to Hamilton.
Absolutely.
Coach, I want to thank you for coming on. I know the other guys appreciate it, especially somebody new to us. You're talking, like I said before, you're talking to 3 guys that love North Country basketball and North Country Saints, and we follow you guys closely. We wish you nothing but the success for this year, and hopefully everything goes well for you.
Well, I really appreciate it. Even though Dave came on late, he'll still get a steak. I don't know if it'll be a Monaco steak or if it'll be a T-bone or if it'll be a New York strip, but we'll figure it out. If you guys, if you want me on again, anything I can do to help promote your show, promote my school, I'm more than happy to help out.
We'll probably have you on closer to the season then, Coach, just to see how you're doing, just to get some feelers out there.
Hopefully I have less gray hair and more. I don't know if the Rogaine is going to help me, but I might try some.
Yeah, you fit in perfect here on this show, though.
I see that. I feel like I'm at home.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know. We've done 120 shows. I'm going to guess you're about the 75th. That looks just like the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Honestly, when you came on, I thought I was looking at myself in the mirror. I said, geez, that looks like me.
Well, I really do appreciate this, guys. And like I said, anything I can do to help you out in the future, please reach out.
No problem.
Absolutely.
Coach,
Roger, I just want to apologize for coming on late. It was unavoidable tonight, but I was glad to get on and at least hear you for the last half of the show.
Yeah, no stress, man. I'm happy. Pete was getting a little annoyed early on, but I told him to chill out. Everything will be okay.
Yeah. If you only knew.
It's just like the referees, right, Roger? You take the lead of the host,
Yes.
Yeah,
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm glad you calmed me down, Coach. I really did. Yeah.
Well, keep me calm during the games you show up to, huh?
If you would have only known about a year and a half ago before I had high speed. Yeah. But anyway, Coach, thanks a lot for coming on. We will follow you and the Lady Saints, and wish you nothing but continued success.
Thank you very much, guys. Enjoy your evening.
That's going to be here on ESS, Empire State Sports, and the Wise Guy Sports Talk Show for Joey David and myself, Pete Golson, our very special guest, North Country Community College women's basketball coach, Roger Long. Good night, everybody, and stay safe.
Thank you.